So good afternoon all, and welcome to the second part of class and objects for our object-oriented programming in C course. Those who have come to this video directly, I would suggest them to first go to the first part where we have covered the concept of class, how to define class, how to define an object, what are the data, what is data member, what are the member function of a class. Then the access specifiers, like what is what is it mean by public, what is mean by private one. Okay, and we have seen the special type of member functions called constructors and destructors, and under the constructors we have discussed about the two type of constructors, that is default constructor and parameterized constructor. And in this part, in the second part, we'll continue our discussion on the remaining type of constructor, that is copy constructor, and all other concepts which are related to definition of class and objects. So I'm going to the slide where we completed in the last lecture. So if you remember, we discussed this example of destructor and we stopped. So we'll proceed from this point onwards. Okay, so knowing more about class and objects. So next thing which we'll do is that an array of object initialization. Now we have already understood that how we can define objects, how we can define default constructor, parameterized constructor. So there is a short version. No, there is a variation here, that how we really to initialize an array of object, how we can utilize the constructor. So let us see this example first. Okay, so in this example you see that the class is number. The only one member is there, that is int I is the only member. Then we have only a parameterized constructor right here. Okay, and how many parameters this parameterized constructor takes? It takes only one, that is int j. The only parameter that is passed is int j. Okay, so what we are doing here, we are simply assigning. It's a very simple constructor task. So simply we are assigning j value to the I value. Okay. All right, and we have another member function to print the value of I. Whenever we need to know what is the current value of I, we can just get it. That's it. So yeah, we know that how to define an object for this. Suppose I want to declare an object, so a number. Now suppose we know that we define array of objects, right? We define array of, so to define an array of objects of type number, of type class number, we use this particular notation. That notation you can say number, then let's ob, let's say there are three objects, we want the array of three objects, so with 3. Now coming to the initialization part. Okay, so if your class is designed such a way that your class data, there is only one data member in the class. Okay, and or we can say the data member could be anything, the data member could be anything. We cannot put we will not put any restriction on the number of data member, but we have a parameterized constructor. Definitely we have defined a parameterized constructor that takes only one value, only one value for initialization. Then we can use the first line. Okay, we can use this first line to initialize an array of object. Okay, exactly the way we are doing for the primitive type. So okay, so I think you will see that. So what's the difference actually? Because we have seen this kind of definition. Yes, we have seen this kind of definition, but we have seen this kind of definition only for primitive types so far. Only for, we haven't, also we are not allowed to initialize directly like this 1, 2 for a structure or array of structure variable also. Okay, so this is possible because you can see the line which is below it. Okay, the second line actually showing the longer form or the original form of initialization, because any object that cannot be initialized just like that. Okay, so because this class number has a constructor that takes only one input, so in writing number, okay, like calling the constructor number with passing 1, calling the constructor number with passing 2, calling the constructor number with 3. Okay, so writing this, okay, is a longer format. So the C++ provides a shorter version of this, that instead of writing this number again, okay, repeatedly, you can write shorter version, the only the value that will be passed. Okay, and let me tell you, this only works when there is a parameter constructor that takes only one value for the particular class. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Okay. Now coming to the second part. Okay. So this, you see this part, second part. Now here we don't have a constructor which takes exactly one value. Okay, so we know our class coordinate, two-dimensional coordinate, has two values. So to initialize, we generally use two values. Okay, we just hardly give one value, and we don't tell the program to assume the second one. So whenever we initialize with some initial values to any coordinate, we generally give some two values. Okay, the x values and y values. So we have, accordingly, we have a constructor here, a parameterized constructor, which takes two values, int j, int k. Okay, so how we can initialize an object by calling this parameter constructor? Definitely by coordinate 2D and pass two values. So here, when this kind of situation is there, then we cannot use the short form, because short form only works for only one value. Because we have multiple values, we have to take the text, we have to initialize. Suppose we want to initialize, means that we have to declare and initialize at the same time. So we have to take the help of parameterized constructor in this way, or default constructor. Suppose you have default constructor, then we also take the help of default constructor. When you just give empty you don't give anything or give empty bracket, then you can use the default constructor. But when you want to initialize it, okay, just like we declare and initialize an array of integer or array of float, then there should be a parameterized constructor that takes exactly one value. Okay, if this is the case, for like this example, you have to initialize by explicitly calling the parameterized constructor and passing the both the arguments. Okay, so this is the forms, the variations of array of object initialization, means declaring the array of objects as well as initializing at the same time. Okay. Now, what is the problem with this? I think it looks good. Now, if some people couldn't get the things properly, then they will think that yes, there is no problem here, but there is a problem here. Okay, so you see that, okay, we are how you are creating array of objects here, but think about it, that when we are creating this array of object, definitely some constructor are going to be called. Okay, right? Now we see that we are not passing any parameter, means we are not initializing shorter form, we are neither using the shorter form nor we are using the longer form. Alright, so we are simply declaring an array of object of size 3. Okay, so what happens here? So obviously it will automatically call the default constructor. Nothing is passed, nothing, simply object creates a default constructor. And the problem is here, we haven't defined any default constructor. Now here comes the confusion. Some people think that if a particular constructor is not defined, then the compiler will provide that constructor by default. Okay, that is actually been told, but it is most of the people take it in a other way. Like this, they understood in a other way. This is not the point. Here, the point is that if the user has not defined a single constructor, okay, either it's a default or parameterized, not a single constructor is available in the class definition, then the compiler is going to provide a default constructor for initialization to garbage value, whatever it is. So it does nothing, just initialize the memories. Okay, so but if user have defined user has defined at least one constructor, doesn't matter whether it is a default or parameterized, okay, then compiler is no more going to provide any constructor, especially default. Suppose what happens that the user has defined a parameter constructor like this, but it is initializing object using default constructor. In that case, compiler is not going to provide any any default constructor. So what will happen here? Here it will lead to an error. This case will lead to an error. Probably I have the example in my program. Let me see if it is there. I'll show you that. Okay. So in this case, it will demand for a default constructor, or it will say that okay, there is no call to a default constructor. Okay. So let me search. Okay. Oh, probably this example is not here, so we can create it. Okay, vis4 let's say default missing. Just to remember, we'll try to give a meaningful name. Okay, let's say I'll try to directly copy paste from this, but it may create some problem. But let me see what is it. Okay, shouldn't do unless until I just remove these dots. This may create some problem. Let's say I'll add a return 0 for completing the. Okay, let's see this one. Okay, if any errors, we'll resolve it now. So C++ S4 default missing. Okay, you see that. So the first error is that there is no matching function to call number. Okay, because this this is saying that the number default constructor number of the class number. So there is no call to this. Okay, how this call is initiated? By this declaration. Okay, so since this declaration initializing this, okay, then it's saying that there is a candidate, but it's with integer. Also it mentioning that there is a candidate, but it's with int. Okay, so missing. All right, so this kind of error. So for this we have to, so user have to provide a default constructor. Now what I will do is that just will go back to this program, and I will just put this parameter constructor in the comment. So what happened now, according to the definitions of class, the user has not provided a single constructor for initialization. So in this case, okay, when user has not defined a single constructor, in this case the compiler will provide a default constructor. Now it will work. Now it won't give any generic, but once you define at least one constructor, parameter constructor or something, then the compiler will not provide any default constructors. Okay, so here now it becomes the responsibility of the compiler to take care of the call. Okay, so now there is no error because now compiler has arranged one default constructor and will do nothing actually, only it will help in initializing the object. Okay, this is the point. All right, what I want to discuss. Okay, so next concept is that yes, we have already studied pointers in C. All right, and we are going to use here because not only always we use one variable to store an object, but sometimes we may need pointers to access the, because we can do many manipulations via pointers. So we can also declare pointers which will be pointing to some object. Okay, so a very simple example is given here. See that? Okay, I think it's just like a recall of your pointer concept. So okay, how the pointer can be used for to handle objects. Okay, you have already handled pointer for structure variables. I think that process is almost same right here. Okay, so you can see I have declared a pointer p of type number. So p, and immediately, because I have already created an object, okay, ob, by by invoking the parameter constructor. So immediately I provided p equal to ampersand of ob. So p now storing the address of ob. Okay, so this is how it is assigned. So now, just like we have used pointer in previously in C, we can use pointer to access all the member, means the accessible members inside the main. Especially we generally, what do? We outside the class scope of the class, we generally use a pointer to invoke the member function. So we can call the member function right here. So what we can see that we can print out return the value of I here. So we'll print here cout p get I. So get I will by function value will be I will be written here and going to print right here. Then we have created an object here, all right, of 3 objects here. Now using the shorter form, you can say it, because it is possible, because I have a parameterized constructor that can take single value, so it is possible. I have created an array of object of size 3 and also initialize them to 1 2 3 because it's a single data. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is that, and p equal to ob. Oh sorry, I think it should be ob2. Okay, it should be ob2. It's missing here, so it should be ob2. Yeah, 2 is missing. All right, so p equal to ob2, then I equal to 0, I less than 3. Okay, we are going to print the value of each object in the data member of all of these objects. So we are in this for loop, we are one by one we are calling the get I. So initially p is pointing to the starting address of the object address of the array, right? So that means here we access the object number 1, that is object with index 0. So p initially holding the address of the object with index point 0, okay, index value 0. So then when I say get I, it is going to print the value of first object, that is 1. Then p plus plus, p will point to the second object. Okay, so depend upon the type of the pointer, okay, it is going to jump that much amount of address. I think this is already known as a part of your C language, right? So then pointer will point to the object with index 1. Okay, again by invoking the function get I, it is going to print the value 2, okay, and 3, so on. So in this way we can use the pointer to refer to an object, okay, or to refer to an address of an object. Okay, and not only this, because we already know about new and delete operator, we can dynamically also allocate memory to a pointer of a particular class, a pointer of type of particular class. Okay, so no, not necessarily it should point to an existing object only. Okay, so that also we can do, and we can do the pointer operation to refer pointer operations, or a pointer member to an object via pointer operator, that is this arrow mark, and access all the data member functions, data member and member functions. Now there is a special type of pointer, is this. Now we have already seen that, when we have already discussed that whenever a member function is invoked from outside the scope of the class, it is always invoked with reference to an object, that is object dot member function, or pointer, imagine pointer operator then member function, right? We have seen this example. So has to be, it has, like pointer always point to some object, okay, some memory area of that particular object type. So that means indirectly it is always invoked with reference to an object. So and also we show that when we call a member function with reference to an object, we pass that object implicitly, means all the data member of the object are passed implicitly, and they will be available on that call. For that call of the function, inside that function all these members will be available directly, we can access them directly. Okay, that is fine. So that means here whenever we are making a call get I, we can access I directly for that object which is called it. Okay, but sometimes it is convenient that we because we are doing some operation over using multiple objects of the same type or a different type, so it is required to identify the data member of the object which has called this method. Okay, it is required to identify, like, so to identify, that the members, it just instead of writing the member directly, because if you how to distinguish that this is a data member of a particular object and this is a simply local variable. Okay, so because they look like local variable. If you remember, I will go back to some other example. If you remember, yes, let us go to the box, right here. Okay, so what happens here? You see here, we are referring inches here in this add distance function. We are referring inches, feet is directly. So directly means we are referring to the inches and feet is of the object which is currently called this add distance function. Okay, but it is also, we know that the local variable, suppose we have declared some local variable, let's say x, a, b, or let's inches, inch, feet. We can also create local variables, right, which are local to this. All right, so to distinguish, so there may be multiple local variables there also. Okay, and the data members of the objects which are passed, which are accessed directly. So sometime it becomes essential to distinguish the data members from other variables. Okay, even if means all the data member of an object from the other variable which are there, which are currently there in a function. Yeah, because you are talking about very small function, you cannot find significant difference. But sometime when you do a realistic cases, when there we need to identify the member of all the data member of the object which has invoked the function. So in that case, we refer how to refer them. So to refer them, we use a pointer called this. So this pointer is a special type of pointer which will point to the object which is passed implicitly. So when suppose some object ob has called this function. Okay, so that function, that means the ob is passed implicitly this argument, and how it is accessed, how this object is referred here, that object is referred via a pointer that is called this. So this pointer, which is this, is a keyword. We cannot make it that, or we cannot make double s this. So this pointer, okay, which is a keyword, will always point to the object which is been passed implicitly, or which has invoked from outside the scope. All right, so every object has access to your own address through this pointer. So again, it is a second use that other than identifying each data member via a name, okay, a data member of an object which is passed as a reference, also we may need to refer the address. Suppose we are doing some operation with the address, we have to refer, so to print the address or to refer the address, that also possible through this. That is a benefit. So this pointer is implicitly used to refer both data and member function. All right, so this pointer will be treating the object, will be holding the address of the object which has invoked the function. So how can you use it? Okay, so absolutely we can use like this, star this, just like pointer to a member kind of thing. Okay, so star this dot x equal to 5, or simply this pointer x here, where this x is a data member of the object, or object of that particular class. All right, so we can write either notation, okay, pointer to a member, or by using member operator, member accessing operator via pointer, the arrow mark. Okay, either one will work. So here is an example. Okay, so we have a power class where the data members is the base and the exponent and the value of the power. Okay, suppose b1, b, e and value. So we have a power parameter constructor for this. Okay, and get power function to print the power. Okay, and see in this parameter constructor, you see that when the base and exponents are passed, when initialized by an object is initialized, okay, these are assigned to b and e. B and E are the data members. All right, and the value is initialized to 1. Okay, then using the for loop we will update the value. So when an object of power class is created and the base and exponents are passed, it while after creation it initialize the value of b and e and also compute the value of the b to the power e at the same time. Okay, right here only. Alright, so here we can see that. So to distinguish the data member here, what we can do that we can use this pointer. So wherever within this member function, mostly remember this pointer is used within member function only, because this pointer refers to the object which has invoked a member function, which is implicitly available. So always within member function we use this pointer to refer. So to refer the to the data member b and e, okay, in an explicit way we can use like this. So this definition of the constructor, this definition of both are equivalent. Only thing is that here we explicitly mention the or refer the data members via this pointer, showing that this pointer is pointing to the current object which is invoked this one. So this is the use of this pointer. Okay, that means this is a pointer, okay, which is mostly used within the member functions to refer the address of the calling object, which is called this method or function. Okay, so here both are same, means we can replace this whenever you need to access, otherwise the task is same. Okay, next concept is pointers to class members. Alright, so till now we have seen that we have declared a pointer to an object of a particular type, but we can also declare pointers that will point to the class member of a particular class. Okay, maybe to a function, member function, maybe a data, that is also possible. So here, because they are pointing to a class, we need to take care of the scope very well. If you take care of the scope very well, then you understood the concept. All right, so this is another use. So declaring pointers that will point to the class members, maybe a data member or a member function. Okay, so let's see this example in detail. Then we have the class number class, which is already been discussed in the previous example. Let's go to the main. Okay, int. Now imagine what we have, suppose forget about this part first. Suppose we write int star data. So what happens? It is a pointer to a integer, right? It's a pointer to an integer. If you just forget about this number part, all right, this part. So simply we write int star data, means we are declaring a pointer data which will hold the address of an integer type. Now we are explicitly saying that it's not a common pointer, it's not a generic pointer that will hold the address of any integer. Rather, we are saying that it will hold the address of the integer which is the member, okay, of the number, okay, which is a member of the class number. So by writing number scope resolution operator star data, we are saying that to compiler that, okay, this is a pointer to, okay, to one of the data member of the class number. Similarly, we may have member functions. We want to access the member function through the function pointer. All right, a pointer to a function. So we know how to declare a pointer to a function. So within the parenthesis star pointer value, then okay, then close the parenthesis, and we have a additional pair of parentheses. That is actually the definition of, okay, pointer to a member function, pointer to a function, right? Now pointer to a member function, simply add the scope, that is the number. So here is saying that this is a pointer to a member function. Okay, a function, or we say the function member pointer. All right, so a member function which is to be referred via pointer is declared in this way. Now using the parameter constructor, we clear two objects, ob1, ob2. Now this data pointer which I have already declared, it need to hold, okay, the address of one of the data member of the number class. So what I will do right now, data equal to ampersand of number scope resolution operator val. Okay, now actually it get the offset. Now data actually get the offset. It gets the actually the look is, because actually we refer one object via its object starting address of the object, right? But here what we do is that here, so we write here that for object 1, okay, for object 1 we write here that object 1 and 2 we write here data that ampersand of number and val. Okay, so it's saying that data is actually the pointer which will refer to which data member? The val. Okay, val could be of object 1 or object 2, that we have not we have not shown done at this moment. Okay, so it is saying that, but we are actually first is declaring, second is associating, because they are not normal pointers, they are pointer to class members. So which member? So this association is done right here, this offset association is done here. So data actually now, because we have only data member here val, so data actually holding the actually pointing to the data member val of the number. Now similarly func, which is a pointer to a member function. So pointer to member function now holding the offset, that is number double val, means this fun will be pointing to the function double val of the class number. We are linking it. Then we can actually call access the data member, okay, that is val and double val now via data and func. Okay, so now because they become the offsets, okay, they are also becomes offsets. Now through them we can access, because they are pointers, we have to use pointer operation, okay, pointer val dereference operator. So to print that a data value, so print the, let's say a val of a particular object, let's say we take ob1, we want to print the value of the val data member of the ob1. So we can simply because here we cannot print directly, because they are private we are not allowed to do directly, but since for accessing we have done public access here, okay, it is only possible because this accessing, this offset assignment only possible after making this particular member publics only. Okay, so what we can do here is directly ob1 dot star data. So for object 1 we are printing the val, okay, via pointer now, okay, via pointer, so star data. Now ob2 star data. So data members now, data member val now can be also referred via the pointer or pointer to a class member, that is already been done by data. Similarly, to call double value, we may not call directly, we can also call through this function, that is ob1 dot star fun. Okay, ob2 dot star fun. Okay, I will put that in the pointer to a function syntax to call it. Okay, so instead of pointer to a function, just write ob1 star function. Okay, so this is the way to declaring pointers for class members, okay, of a particular class. Okay, and instead of referring to them directly, okay, through the member, we can also use this pointer to refer them. Alright, this is pointers of class members. So I have this example, perhaps I will demonstrate this one. Should be pointer to the pointer s. So this is dis4 ptr. Remember, this is the example. So we are printing the value of, so we have two values only, right? Two objects, that is value equal to 1 and 2. So we'll print them and we'll simply double it the value. Okay, we'll print, we are calling the pointer to class member functions, okay, just to double them, because we are calling double value only for doubling the values, right? So we'll see what is the output here. Okay, so yes, remember, so it's compiled successfully. Let us run. So the original value is 1 2, because we are printing by using pointer to class members, if you see that. Okay, so we are printing this part using the pointer to the class members, okay, that is data, and the second one we are printing by using function, the data you calling the double value. So double value is doubling the value, so 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4. That's it. Okay, so this is an example to demonstrate the accessing the class members via pointers. Class members, not a pointer to a particular object, okay, object of a particular class. Okay, so individually for every member, if at all required for us, we can assign a pointer, we can associate a pointer to each member of a class. Okay, so next constructor, which is the last constructor but most important constructor, is copy constructor. Okay, I think everybody knows that the copying one structure variable to another structure variable by assignment operator is permitted in C. Same in C++. So you can copy one object to another copy object via assignment operation. But so then what about creating an object which will hold the copy of another object which is already existing? That is the question, right? So it's something like this. I'll try to show you here by a simply example. So let's say I'm writing here, I think it should be visible to you, all of you, or let me increase the font a little bit. Yes, I think it should be good. Okay. So let me take an example and show you a case. So imagine that what do we do generally? We then suppose I have already let's take the class number only. I have a number class, and I've created object 1 and object 2, right? I've created object 1 and object 2. Okay, and I have initialized them. Let's say here some part I have initialized them, I got some operation I have updated. Now next I create another object number let's say ob3, which will be initially, or maybe let's so it will hold the values all the which will be of the ob1. It's so it is permitted, right? ob3 equal to ob1. Okay, since now if we know that if object 3 is definitely going to hold the values of ob1 when it is created, so we should be able to assign these values during the immediately after the creation of the object ob3 only. Okay, did you get my point? So we know that we're going to copy the values of ob1 to ob3. So why not this is done exactly at the moment of creating the object. So that is achieved by copy constructor. Just like your default constructor will create the object and assign default values. Parameter constructor, you know some initial parameter. Okay, so using that you create the object and assign some initial parameters. Now you know that when an object is created and it is a copy of an existing object, so that you can achieve through copy constructor. Okay, but it has some more, it has more definite, the benefit is quite more than what I have told right now. Okay, it's not only this much, is not the only benefit, we have much more benefits. Okay, let's see that. So one of the most important form of an overloaded constructor, so we know that we have already seen the concept that the constructor can be overloaded by depend upon the type of parameter. So copy constructor can help to prevent the problem occurs when one object is used to initialize another. So whenever we need to copy, okay, we can do this, but as it says that there may be some problems when you initialize one object, okay, by another, when you initialize one object by using another object. Okay, so what is that problem? So if let me tell you first, if your class contain the members which are not holding any address, okay, means these are all simple variables, okay, doesn't associated with any address, okay, any address, then no problem at all. Or if it is not associating, it is not associated with the task of allocating some memory dynamically. Okay, when you are creating an object, then you need to create some memory dynamically, then absolutely copy construct is safe to use. But when we discuss the pointing is that when we have some member of an object of a class which is to be initialized by dynamically allocating memory. Okay, so what happens when we do copy? When you copy one object by another by using a normal copy, okay, so because this is allowed, we have already shown you that this is allowed here, right? This one is allowed. So if you do this, it performs a bitwise copy, means everything bit by bit copied from the L or R value object to the L value object. So that is, it is an identical copy of initializing object okay, created in the target object. Target object is always present in the L value, right? So a common case is when an object allocate memory dynamically. And now let us see what happens over there. Suppose, let us imagine that class. Assume that I have a class, my class, which allocate memory dynamically for each object whenever it is created, right? So let's say I have already created an object A, okay, and let's say I'm creating an object B, okay, which is a copy of A. So what will happen? It will, when we do copy by simply assignment, what happens? Simple copy. So everything will be copied bit by bit, including the address which is dynamically allocated within A. So when the object A is created, right, we have allocated some memory. Let's say A, some memory is created, that address is, let's say 1000 in A. For example, let us see it. Let's do through a diagram. Okay, let's say, for example, to understand it very clearly, let us do it. No problem. Let me remove this and let me show you here. Okay. 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 So let's say, yes, this object is created where memory is created dynamically. Let's say this that memory which is let's say it's a big object. Let us take a big object. Okay, so it has different partitions. Let's say these different things. Let's say it have a, it have a let's say value 1 and value 2. Let's say this object and the dynamically created member, which is, let's say, address equal to 1000. Let's say, for example, I'm assuming that. Okay, let's say this is an object created. Let's say object A. This is my object A. Let's, for example. So yes, let me write it. It is object A. This is object A. This is object A. Now, when I do a copy, right? When I created B, okay. When I create a B, okay, let's say, let me give some values, right? So, no, I think it is not clear here. Okay, let us do that. Let's say this class value, the first variable val1 equal to 10, val2 equal to 20, and the address, let's say addr is equal to, let's say that dynamically created pointer, let's say is equal to 1000. Okay, that will look good. This will make it clear. 3 members are there, and when an object A is created, this happened. Okay. Now, when B is created, and we do bitwise copy. Now we are looking at the problem with the bitwise copy. Okay. So when I do bitwise copy, when this B, okay, B and A is some memory location. Suppose this is a memory location. Definitely A is created. Let's say let it 5000. Let's say the address of the A is 5000. Okay. B is created. Definitely some memory is allocated. Let's say it is equal to 10,000. Let's assume that some values. Okay. Let's say B is stored at the location 10,000. But B is a copy of A. So what happens? All copy is done bitwise. So value 1 will become 10. Value 2 will become 20, and the address part also become exactly 1000 10,000, right? Sorry, 1000. Sorry, 1000. Yes, 1000. Okay, fine. Till then it looks good. So what happens now? Suppose, so what happens? So this pointer, this is a pointer, this is a pointer, right? Definitely this is a pointer, and this is a pointer. Okay, and let us assume that another box, let's say this location which is dynamically memory allocated, and this is actually the address location 1000, let's say, for example. Okay, so what is actually happened here? Okay, both of these addresses are now pointing to this memory. Okay, this address addr variable of both the object are pointing to this address memory. Okay, now we know that when an object is destroyed, we take care of the allocated memory by freeing up, by calling the delete. Okay, so imagine when we remove this object. Okay, when you remove this object, okay, then automatically, or let's say we go beyond the scope of this object, for example, okay, what happens? Automatically the destructor for this A is called. So when the destructor for this A is called, okay, so it is going to free up this memory location. So automatically this, it is going to free up this address also, because this the address for this is dynamically allocated by using using new operator right here. So in the destructor, it will call delete to remove this address. Okay, so what will happen? That means when this A is getting freed up, okay, when this A is getting freed up by using delete operation, this is also freeing up this memory, which is dynamically allocated by A. Now you can easily imagine the problem. What is the problem here? The problem is that, okay, B is now the ADDR pointer of the B is now pointing to an address, okay, which is not allocated. So now this kind of pointers are called dangling pointers. Okay, the pointers which are pointing to a memory which doesn't exist currently, which is not allocated currently. So this is a serious problem. So when B try to access this address via ADDR, you will get segmentation fault. And in my memory, in my C++ and CC compiler, definitely you will get segmentation fault or memory core dump kind of error. You will runtime errors, you will get it. Okay, so this is the problem with the bitwise copy. When we are copying one object, creating one object by copying from another object, this is the problem. Okay, so and it is especially this is in the scenario when an object is created, some memory is allocated. So for this, okay, a safe is to use a copy constructor instead of making a bitwise copy like that. I have shown you that OB3 equal to OB1. It is better to, okay, use copy constructor. Okay, so when a copy constructor exists, the default copy constructor actually, when we don't define any copy constructor and we copy one object to another object, the compiler again will provide a default copy constructor which will do actually the bitwise copy. So to avoid bitwise copy, now as I told you, if you don't involve any memory, dynamic memory allocation, then bitwise copy has no issue at all. But when there are dynamically memory allocation somewhere, so it will be, so for that it is always take help of the copy constructor. Okay, copy constructor or define user defined copy constructor. I mean to say that now instead of using the default copy constructor provided by the compiler, it is better to provide to use the user defined copy constructor, and the user defined copy constructor is defined by using this syntax. The common format is the class name constant, it is mandatory, constant, the class name, and object is passed as a reference. Okay, the object which will be copied to the newly created object. So this is always passed as a reference. We'll discuss that one. So it is permissible for a copy constructor to have an additional parameter along with this. Suppose you need additional parameter to be passed to this copy constructor, that is possible, but the minimum parameter should be constant, the class and the object that is to be copied. Okay, so as long as they have the default arguments defined for them, so we have no problem, we can have additional additional. So there should be a default version like this. Along with this, we can have overloaded copy constructors. So C++ actually define three distinct type of initialization in which the value of one object is given to another. Meaning to say that indirectly a copy constructor is called when you have defined, when it used, when these three conditions occurs. That is, when one object is explicitly initialized another during the declaration, like we say my class X object equal to Y, which is actually creating an object and copying from an existing object Y. So this calls the copy constructor. Next way, a copy of an object is made to pass to a function, right? So when we write fun, c and y, so when we pass this object, a copy of the object is created. Okay, while as you know that when we it is actually by pass by value. When we pass by value as an object, it will create a value. It will create an object in the local scope. So at that time also the copy constructor will call and a temporary object is generated mostly when return value. So when we return an object within the in a calling function, we have local, that should be local, remember that there should be any reference variable or call by reference. Okay, so if it's a local object is passed, so a temporary copy is created for that for that purpose also copy construct is applied. Okay, so for all this initialization the copy construct is applied. The copy construct will automatically called, and if you have defined your user defined copy constructor, that will be called. Okay, so here is an example of simple example. Here I think we do not include any dynamic memory allocation, just to demonstrate a copy constructor how we can do. Here it is. Okay, so for the class distance we include, now we already seen the parameterized and default constructors. Now this is okay, this highlighted one is a copy constructor. So class name distance, within the parenthesis the parameter constant, it has to be constant, and distance, so a reference object of type distance to be passed. And what we do generally copy, that's the point. So feet is the feet of the ob is copied to feet, and inches of ob is computed to inch, means to the newly created object. Okay, so in how to call, there are two variations. Okay, so when you call copy constructor, one way is that distance dist2. Now newly created object is dist2, and we pass the existing object within parenthesis dist1, just like parameterized constructor. Okay, just like parameterized constructor, instead of passing the other parameters, we just pass exactly the same object of that class. Okay, so dist1 is the object of the same class. Okay, now other variation is that distance dist3 equal to, just like we use a copy assignment, we can also write here. So in here also the dist3 is created. Okay, a new object is created, and copy constructor is called by passing dist1 as an argument. Okay, both will call a copy constructor. That is mostly if you the user defined copy constructor. Okay, alright, when we call like this, we assume that we definitely defined a user defined copy constructor. Alright, now here there are two differences. Okay, so here we have some dynamic memory allocation also. So let's say table, and when you see that we defined a copy constructor here, declare a copy constructor here, and we're defining outside it. Okay, so when we pass this object, so because we have a pointer member here, alright, we do not directly copy, we don't do bitwise copy, so we always allocate memory to for this some different the size, and we of this size, and we then copy by using explicit copying function. Okay, so you see that when this copy constructor is called by passing an object, existing object t, first dynamically memory is allocated by new or exactly of the size of t size. Okay, there is a t, will also data member size exactly of the same size, so size equal to t size. So we are doing two things here. First of all, we are initializing size value of the newly created object by t size, number one. Secondly, we are passing this value size as an argument to this particular char. Okay, so that dynamically this many characters will be created. Once it is created, we are using strcpy function to copy the name from t name to name. Okay, so now it's not bitwise copy. So for every object, memory is allocated. So every pointer will point to a different memory now. So it doesn't matter if any object is destroyed, okay, by the destructor, it is not going to affect the another one. So this is the benefit, real benefit of the copy constructor when this kind of situation occurs. Okay, so then in the main table t1 object is created, then table t2 equal to t1. Okay, copy constructor is called table t3, new object is created. But when you write t3 equal t2, some people assume that this is called copy constructor. No, it is still the bitwise copy assignment. If you do like this, but like this, then it is always the bitwise copy assignment. It is not going to call copy constructor. Copy constructor only called when you write t2 equal to t1 or you write t2 within parenthesis t1. Now let us answer this question, why copy constructor argument is passed as constant reference. So reference argument to the copy constructor avoid recursive call to it, since when an object is passed as a value, we know that a copy is created, right? So so let here suppose say what I will do here, if we'll simply do a table instead of this reference, what I will do a table t. So what happens when you pass t1, it will be table t equal to t1. It is indirectly again we are calling the copy constructor. Okay, so it will keep on calling the copy constructor indefinitely. So to avoid that, we're creating an alias instead of creating another copy. So we will see, I'll show you. For this case, a copy constructor will be called. Alright, so if you're not giving bypassing the reference, that's why to avoid that recursive call to the copy constructor, we use reference. Next, foremost decision of constant is 2, because we are copying an existing object to a newly created object. We want to avoid any accidental modification to the existing object. So it's always safe to pass and constant. So this is the standard format for defining a copy constructor. So let's go to the demonstration of how the copy constructor is called, and that is by test copy constructor. Okay. So the program what I'm going to show you is S4 not this one, it should be VIS4 test copy constructor. Okay, this one. Okay, so I have a class line and I have no member at all, just because it's going to demonstrate the call of copy constructor and other constructors. Okay, so simply get length. Okay, there is a function called get length void, it is going to return some value, that's it. Okay, length, okay, some whatever value it is been passed to it. Okay, that's it. Nothing else is there. All right, sorry, we have a length, but not length, but actually what are we going to do, we have a pointer here, well, that will show. Okay, so yes, there is a line, a parametric constructor here and copy constructor here. All right, and we have a destructor. Okay, we have defined all of them outside the scope by using the scope reduction operator. So coming to the first one, this is the parametric constructor. It allocates memory. Okay, exactly, because it takes the length and exactly allocate memory. Okay, and some memory for one integer and assign this length, that's it. Okay, nothing else to do. So and for a copy constructor here, what we do, we allocate the memory for newly allocated memory for integer, and whatever the ptr the object dot ptr, okay, is holding, that will be copied to the ptr. All right, okay, whatever it is there, so it's simply copy from the obj the existing object to the newly created object, that's it. Then we have distinct destructors, simply freeing memory and remove the memory, deallocate the memory by using delete. Okay, then get length will simply return the value of ptr. All right, that's it, nothing else. Okay, and we display the length of the, fine, we display the length of an object. So so we call display because you see that display is not a member function. Okay, it's a outside, it's a global function. Okay, which input a line object and also return a line object, same object. Okay, with so the object which is created locally, this line obj is created locally. So it is created. So let us see. So what happens here now? What will happen? First of all, small line 10, that means we know that this is going to call the parameterized constructor to create an object, line object. Okay, now line 2 equal to display line. You see that there are many things involved here. First of all, we are calling display. Okay, by passing the object line. Okay, so when this is passed in the function display, line obj equal to line, that is going to happen because it's passed by value. So a first copy constructor will be called right here. Okay, it will be called here. Then length of the line, it will print the length of the line by getting the length of this object. Okay, then return the object. Once this object is returned, okay, so a temporary object is created and then assigned to a line 2. So while this copying is going on, it will call the second copy constructor. Okay, a temporary object is created and assigned to, so a, okay, so in this case the second copy constructor is called. Okay, so we'll see that. Okay, that's how it works usually. All right, so if I will just pass a reference here, I'll show you that. Let me show you first the call. So plus S4 okay, see that. So yes, so a normal constructor allocating pointer, this is for parameterized constructor. Then you see that when display is called, first copy constructor is called to create the local variable, to create the parameterized value, is passed by value. Then it prints the length. Then again when it returns the object, the copy constructor is called to assign to the L value. Okay, so while returning the value or return value. Okay, so a temporary object is created. You see that. Okay, you see that. What happens here? An object, it creates a temporary object here and assign to line 1. Okay, line 2. Okay, when we do this kind of assignment. All right. So this is the second kind of calling the copy constructor. All right, creating an object by an existing object. Okay. Now what we'll do is that we'll see either what we'll do. We'll avoid this. I'm sorry. Sorry. Now, what is the thing is that, and but what we are seeing, that we are seeing three freeing memory cache, because three object is created. So one object is within this line, second is within display obj, and third one is line 2, which is copied from the temporary object. Okay, so that's why we get three when it goes beyond the scope. Okay, three are deleted, three memories are deleted because they are pointers allocated dynamically. So when we goes beyond the scope of the main, these all are called one by one. Okay, so this is an example of showing the how copy constructor works. All right, so hope everybody understood and they can use the copy constructor wherever they need it. Okay, so with this we'll stop our discussion here, and the third part will be about the rest of the point concept, like using the we have seen just now is in the constant. So we'll see more about constant keyword. We'll see static members with special type of members, and then friend keyword. What is the friend member? So a friend, a function, and friend classes. Okay, so we learn about friend in the last part of this particular this complete topic. Okay, so this is the end of part 2. Okay, thank you very much everybody.